Well, I want to thank everyone for coming in tonight. I thank our sponsors, which is Pro Photo Daily, Epson, B&H American Photography, and Photo Shelter. Tonight we have two wonderful photographers, dear friends, who've covered the Olympics over a variety of different Olympic events. And we have Mark Edward Harris, who's now become a regular on our show, which I'm very, very happy about and gratified. Terrific presenter. And we have tonight, for the first time, and it won't be for the last, that's for sure. We've already spoken about the next appointment. Paul Kitagaki. And again, I apologize for that pronunciation, Paul. But so, Paul, share your screen and off we go.
Okay. So let me see. Oh, hold on. Share screen. Sorry. Hold on. Share.
There you go.
Oops. Play. There we go. Is that showing?
Yep, we got it.
So my name's Paul Kitagaki Jr. I'm a photojournalist right now at the Sacramento Bee, and I've been a photojournalist for like 48 years. So this is a picture of me at my very first Olympics, the 1984 Olympics, and I was working for the San Francisco Examiner, the Hearst newspaper. And back in the day, I had like a Nikon with I can't remember if it was an F2 or an F3, probably an F3 with a 400-3.5. There's some other really famous photographers in here. David Turnley's next to me. Douglas Kirkland's over to the far left of the picture. So anyways, this is my very first Olympics. This is Carl Lewis winning a gold medal. He won 2 gold medals at the games. And so we were shooting black and white, like I said. So I had another colleague who was back at the hotel, and he would process the film and then make a print, 8x10 print, and throw it on this drum. And then you'd send the photos over the telephone line, and it took like 10 minutes. So this is Mary Lou Retton. She was 16. She became the first one of the youngest Olympians at winning a gold medal in gymnastics. And this is the kind of like David Burnett shot this picture from the opposite side where Zola Budd there ran into Decker there. And this is how we'd make the prints. We'd actually just write the captions on the print like that.
Yeah, and Paul, where you're situated, is it by luck or by choice, or you get delegated? You're here, you're here.
For this one, it's like by choice. And so actually on this one, I was sitting next to Eddie Adams from the AP. And we were on the opposite side. So this is the picture I made, the wide angle picture. Actually, so we're at the finish line would be to the left. And way on the other side is where Zola Budd and Decker crashed. And this is like half a lap before they crashed.
Yeah, Zola Budd is in second place there, right? I mean,
Correct. Yeah, she's right next
without her
to
shoes
the
on.
Decker. And Decker was supposed to be the gold medal winner. And then my next Olympics, I'm still shooting film, but this time I'm shooting color neg. And this is in Atlanta. And the same process this time, though, instead of making prints, we had a scanner for the print or for the negatives, and then some really funky computer thing, and then we'd send the pictures. And this is Michael Johnson was like the big guy, so he had these special shoes made, and he won 2 gold medals at the Olympic Games. And then you never know what's going to happen at the Olympics. We had the bombing, so I'd left the games that night, went back to where I was staying, and my wife, Renee C. Byard, said, hey, there was a bombing, so, headed back to the stadium. And then, just not to the athletes, we also shoot like fans. And then one last picture from Atlanta is one of my favorites. This is Coach Bella Cairoli, and he's carrying Carrie Shrugs after the team won the gold medal in the finals in Atlanta, and she was injured. So I really like that photo.
And when you're hired to cover the Olympics, do they tell you the events you cover, you have to cover, or do you help in the selection?
So on this one, like for like the black and white one, when I was working for the newspaper, the Examiner, the reporter kind of decides on what stories we're covering, so I have to be there for whatever stories. And for the color like this from Atlanta, I was working at the Oregonian newspaper in Portland. So again, like the writer, we decide which stories we're going to work on, which athletes we're going to cover. And then this is my first digital Olympics. This is Salt Lake City using like a Canon digital camera. This is our local kid. This is Apollo Ono, and he was really good in short track. And this is him reacting after winning his gold medal in Salt Lake
Speed
City.
skating, right?
Speed skater, yeah. And then if you ever look at that, I'll show you some other pictures later. But it's like roller derby. They go around the short track and they're jostling for position. It's really pretty cool. And this is Michael Kwan. She's skating. She was like one of the favorite American skaters back in the day.
Mhm.
And then the next Olympics I covered, I was working at Sacramento Bee, so I was part of a team for McClatchy. There's 6 other photographers. And so for this one, like you were saying, I was given an assignment. You're covering this, you're covering that. So this is the opening ceremonies. And this is like, I had to wait 8 hours for this photograph. We had to be in the stadium early. I drank like, I don't know, 10 bottles of water because right in front of me were these huge TV, the spotlights for the stadium. And they're emitting so much heat and then heat waves and trying to shoot through that to make this picture. But this is the former Olympic gymnast for China, and he's lighting the cauldron. He was like on this thing that went around the whole stadium. He was like suspended and he lit the cauldron there.
Well,
It was like the most incredible Olympic ceremonies I've ever seen in my life. The one in Beijing.
Paul, with the speed skating or the figure skating, do you get to go in, or even this shot? Do you get to go there beforehand to see what the best angle is? Like do you have time for that, or like you're let in, you get your spot, and that's it? How does that work?
Well, what happens? Well, it's kind of interesting. Each country is allowed so many credentials, like for the high ticket things like gymnastics or like swimming. And so you have to sign up a list with your country, like for the USA. I'd like to try to cover this on this day. And then the International Olympic Committee gives so many positions per country, and then you have to hopefully you get a position. And that's how it kind of works. So sometimes you get in there, you want to be on this side, like on this side, I want to be on this side, or there's 3 different positions for swimming, and you just kind of have to try to decide which one you could get, or if you can't get the one you want, then you go to the other one.
Right.
And this is like getting up really early. This is like Olga Kaniskina of Russia. She's crossing the finish line after winning the gold medal for the women's 20 kilometer walk in Beijing. So there's all these really cool moments that happen. You're always trying to get like that. For me, I'm always trying to get not just the athlete winning with his arms up, but him with his countrymen, or all these cool things that just happen in front of you. And this is like I experimented with like a multi exposure on the camera. This is like a gold medal fencing match. Always try to get some sort of signage to give you a sense of place. And for Sacramento, this is our local girl. So I had to get permission to put a camera inside the net there. And then, so I'll show you a couple of things. So she ended up winning the gold medal, coming, in the discus. So here's like that right there. You can see I have a remote camera there, and then I'm I'm downfield using a trigger to fire the remote camera and shoot the picture we were throwing. So I just wanted to kind of show you that.
Yeah.
And then for
Wow.
track, this is like mainly the wire photographers have these positions here. They have like kind of like the primo positions. So this is kind of like the finish line remote. So just wanted to give you guys a sense of what's
Wow.
there. So there they are on the bottom left, and then you can see the photographers are there. And the finish line, then see where on the very top where it shows the clock, you can put cameras there too. So I just wanted to show you a couple little angles from that.
Yeah. And so everyone puts their camera there, and it's all remote control. And then as soon as it's over, you all run in to grab your cameras
Well, you can. You got to wait for the event to be done because you
for the
can't go
event. Okay.
crossing the track, and you have to set those up hours ahead of the events.
Right.
And So this, you know, so this I could get two angles of the race. So I got the remote camera shooting him crossing the finish line, and then I got the other camera shooting a finish line straight on with a reaction. And this is like our big star there, you know, Usain Bolt of Jamaica, and
Right.
that's him winning the 100 in Beijing. So I shot one there, and then I'm down on the ground shooting another one. And I think when I was shooting this, I'm not sure if you guys care about technical, but as I was shooting like Nikon digitals with like I think a 2 to 400 lens. This is the American team, and this is Laura Williams, and she's dropping the baton during the handoff with Tori
Mm,
Adams in the 4x100 relay. And they were a favorite team, and
right.
once they had that mishap, it was all over. And then she's running back to go pick it up. I've never seen anything like that. And as soon as this happened, there's like a TV that NBC has that runs around the track, so it blocks the picture right away, right seconds after I shot this, or half a second. And our other big star there was I had to get was Michael Phelps, and he's right here. He's
Okay.
setting an Olympic record in the 400 millimeter meter IM. Riddell, Spain. He's winning a gold medal.
And the swimming, Paul, are there
Yes.
cameras underwater as
Yeah.
well?
So like Heinz Klutmir, who's like the Sports
Right.
Illustrated god. I mean, he would
Right.
have those cameras underneath, you know, the water. He'd make all these fantastic pictures. Another guy was I can't. I'm blanking on his name from Getty. He would always have these fantastic underwater pictures with the cameras. They're like really fantastic.
Mm.
So, and then I went to. I'm just kind of going really quick. I went to. This is Arnold Schwarzenegger carrying the Olympic torch in Vancouver. Opening ceremonies, and the big star there was this kid here, Shaun White, and this is him just getting ready to go down his Olympic run on snowboarding. And then this is him, and he's winning his on this jump. He won like a second gold medal in the snowboard half pipe.
So, I mean, when you're covering that type of event, you know that they're going to be flying up in the air on these
Yes,
different spots, right?
and I hope I get it. I hope I'm
Yeah.
framing right, and you know, I make a picture, and I'm just hoping I don't screw up. So you know, we find moments like this where it's athletes crashing. That's the long track. This is Johnny Weir, the USA. He's overcome with emotion after his performance, and then he has to go to this place called the Kiss and Cry stand. And I couldn't believe he's like wearing this head of this roses on his head. And then again, we cared a lot about Apollo Ono, and then he's here showing that he's won 7 Olympic medals.
Yeah, and what is the number on his helmet there?
Helmet. That's the number they give the athletes.
Okay.
So it's just a way to identify them.
Right. Okay.
And then curling's really big. It's not my favorite sport to photograph, but worldwide it's like a huge sport. So
Yeah.
um, this is London. This is the bronze medal match of the volleyball game. So I shot the bronze medal from up above, and then went down later on when the light was different to go shoot the gold medal match.
How many different Olympics have you covered, Paul?
So including the last one, which was in Milan, that was my 12th Olympics.
And do you prefer winter over summer, or either one?
I like summer. There's more events. I mean, this
Yeah.
summer one is very challenging, and I mean, Mark will tell you that too, because the venues were so spread out. Usually they're closer in. For this Olympics, I was shooting for Zuma Press. In Vancouver, I was shooting for Zuma Press too. So I'm going
Mm.
to rip through a
Wow.
couple of these. What I liked was this camaraderie in this photograph. These are like the silver medalists and the gold medalists. And after they won the 300 or 3,000 meter steeplechase, I just like that. You know, their athletes are
Wow.
competing, but they're there for each other. So I'm really happy when I can make these little special, little quiet moments.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to kind of little jubies and our favorite guy, Usain Bolt. And then in London, they had these cameras on these, those what do you call those things?
So Someone will know the name of that. That
But
you,
they had these cameras that would get in the way. As soon as he celebrate, these cameras would roll out and be in front of you, and it was not fun. It was very challenging. And then again, here's another
Steadicam.
weird, very challenging to try to make a clean picture with all those other cameras
Mhm.
in the way. But like NBC's the main visual recorder, of the things, and photographers are really secondary to the TV. So Sochi was a pretty good Olympics because everything was close by. You could cover a lot of different events.
Mm.
Again, I'll give you one tip. So I was shoot. This is the gold medal jump by this Germany's vault, and so you had to climb up all these stairs to get up to the top to go try to make this picture. And I showed a bunch of the skate jumpers beforehand. And then I changed digital cards, threw to my pocket, and put a new card in there. Well, at some point, I dropped the other card that had all the other stuff, and I thought I'd lost her. But I luckily I had one card, so the other card was just totally lost. So don't stick cards in your pocket. Put them in a holder. That's my advice.
All right. Note to self.
Yes. This is like an Italian skater winning silver medal in alpine skiing. And then I went to Brazil. I'm just going to show ripping through some of these.
Oof.
And there's our main guy was Phelps. I had to make sure we got Phelps. So I shot one time there, and then you had to get permission to be to shoot the front on, the head on position. And then here's Phelps showing that he's won 4 gold medals. And then, oh god, I'm blanking, but we all know who this is.
Bowls.
Yes, and this is her back in there, and then I'm just ripping through some other, just like trying to general action,
Mm.
and I try to do different blur stuff too, slow shutter stuff, even like again like with the fencing
And do
here.
you have a favorite sport that you like to cover when you go, Paul?
Um, I kind of
One
like
person.
doing the gymnastics when I'm at the summer game. I like doing the swimming, gymnastics, and the track. But I also like doing the fencing. But it's very challenging to find like that dark black background. The last one, I think, in we didn't get to it that much in Paris. It didn't have like that dark background. And the
Mm.
incredible thing was like the beach volleyball in Brazil, and it was U.S. and Brazil won. And I like this moment when they just won, the two girls. Look, their nails are all painted, fingernail polish, and then she goes and sees her family. I just like those little moments like that. Back again, we're in Korea. Another win. This skater of Japan is I think I can't remember if he won the gold, but I know the other gentleman from China won the bronze. And again, we're doing Sean White. This is like pretty much almost the last time he was doing the snowboarding. He did his jump, came down, and then I like this other quiet moment. I just took a different position. So this is him winning the gold medal again in the snowboard halfpipe. Just a little
Wow.
more action, ski jumping, and then who knows how they land. Crazy when they don't land correctly. Snowboarding again, some really snowboarding cross, really crazy thing. Um, Not too many. She was like one of the first, black speed skaters for the U.S. And this is like a really cool moment. U.S. women's beat Canada, so it's like a really cool moment when they win the gold medal there. So with this Olympics, I was able to get around to a lot of different events.
Yeah.
And
Paul,
then
here's a question.
yeah,
Do any of the athletes get upset with you or with the photographers in general when
no,
you when you've
no,
captured a moment where they've fallen or something like that?
No, we've never heard any feedback because you're so far away from them, and you're
Yeah.
away from them, so there's no really interaction with them.
Right. Okay.
I just wanted to kind of show you this is like COVID time in Japan, but in other different Olympics there'd be pictures like this, but it'd even be more jam packed with photographers. We're supposed to be more spaced out with this one. And I was really lucky. David Burnett shot my picture and sent me this picture of me working while he's editing. So I just want to throw that in there.
And do they treat you well? Each facility or each Olympics, they give you the right space and the right amount of space to shoot and post and all the rest.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do a pretty good job with all the workrooms and stuff. Sometimes, like the gymnastics and stuff, you're like elbow to elbow with people in front of you and back you. So it's really tough to work. Sometimes, everybody's really close, everybody's really close. So you ask them to take off their lens hood, or somebody's pointing one way and you want to go the other way and it's blocking a picture. So it's kind of challenging. And this is the first time they entered skateboarding. Is that top thing of mine showing? Or is it screen top? Is that control bar showing on the pictures? I don't know.
No,
Okay,
no,
good.
we just
I
have
just
your
see it.
images.
Okay. Again, Simone
Mhm.
Biles. This is when she jumped and had a bad jump, and then she kind of pulled out, citing mental health concerns. And then she came back later to win a bronze on the floor. And then swimming, and then I like this moment. It's too like it was like a mixed 4x100, 4x4 relay, which men and women. And this is the finish line of Poland. They won the gold medal. I've never seen some guy pull his shirt up and keep running. Another gold medal. She won the triple jump in Ulima Rojas, and she set a Olympic and a world record in that jump. And this is the first year they had transgender athletes, so everybody was photographing this New Zealand weightlifter, Laurel Hubbard, who competed in the games, but she didn't win a medal or anything. And I just wanted to kind of show you this is like this would be pandemic time, but there's no fans. And this is the
Wow.
awards ceremony for the volleyball. And then this is Simone Biles again. This is in Paris. And I kind of want to show you, this is like kind of all the gear that I brought when I went to Beijing, all those cameras and hard drives and stuff, remotes and stuff.
All
Um,
charged, right?
all charged. And then this is going to a winter game, a little less gear, but
Why's that, Paul?
well, because I wasn't doing as many remotes and stuff, so I'm basically
Mhm.
carrying more stuff. I don't do like remotes for hockey or that kind of stuff. I don't have time, so I'm jumping from venue to venue. Sometimes I'm trying to do 2 or 3 events, different venues in a day.
And do you have to report to your photos to the organization to be validated for future Olympics?
How do you mean?
I mean, like once you've done one, is it easier to get in the next time and the time after that?
Well, yeah, it makes it. I think. Well, it goes through the agency. So, like my
Right.
agency, Zuma Press, they're the ones that apply for the credential. It's always challenging because there's seems like they're always cutting back on credentials, and there's not enough. So, but there's less people, less organizations going. Mainstream
Uh,
media.
and
Um,
is it impossible to do it as an independent?
yes, you have to be with an agency or somebody.
Okay.
Simone was the big story, so I shot a lot of Simone, and I think Mark will show you a bunch too. I really like this image of her teammates cheering for her while she's performing, doing her floor exercises, and then Susan Lee, she was one of the also U.S. medal winners too.
And Paul, is it better to be associated with one photo group versus another, like having a Getty credential versus Zoomer? Does
Well,
one matter more?
Getty has preferential treatment because they're one of the official photographers for the event.
Okay.
So they have a lot more photographers. They have better positions, and
Okay.
that's just the way it is.
Another reason to hate Getty.
Well, you don't hate them. There's some very talented photographers there.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm not talking about the photographers just
Yeah. But
at
yeah, I
all.
mean, they're the official photographer for the event, so
Right.
they did more positions and everything else. So, and this was the I forget what they called him, but
High beam.
Stefan Nerorowska, and he was like the one who nailed it for the American team on the horse. So they end up winning. I'm shooting pictures, and then my friend sent me this picture of myself. So always try to make sure you're on TV in the background. On the far right.
There you go.
Yeah, but yeah. And then Paris had this really cool the Eiffel Tower with volleyball in front.
Mm.
So this is like the third event I shot that day. So this other colleague of mine, we rushed from another event just to get there, just to make this picture at sunset. These two women from Great Britain are winning a bronze medal. Um, this is like the really great French judo guy, Terry Rinner. And this was happened. I mean, I was with my one-year-old, so the athlete, he won a bronze medal in the decathlon. He comes running up, hugging his wife. It was like so cool right in front of me. I just couldn't believe it. It's like sometimes you're really lucky they come right where you are. But you knew the family was there, but it's just like really incredible when they do that. And I kind of wanted to show you, this is like the gymnastics. So that's how crowded you are. Usually it's even more crowded, but and then it crosses the bar. So we're all shooting Simone again on the bar, and then she falls, and then her coach comforts her. And then Suni Lee, she also fell, but she won the bronze in the all around. And that's her getting congratulated by her coach.
And even seniority doesn't matter in the spots where all
You're,
the photographers are standing.
no, first come, first serve. So if you're
That's
there
it.
hours ahead, you try to get there way ahead to get a position. And with gymnastics, it's kind of crazy because you have to move from position to position if you're photographing a specific athlete or the ones in the lead. So you'd have to move from station to station. So sometimes you get another position that's not so good.
Right.
So I'm just kind of ripping through this. This guy, he withdrew from an injury, but he's like one of the best Greco-Roman athletes, and he's throwing his shoes down because he's retiring from the sport. I've never seen it happen at an Olympic game.
Mm.
And then this
That's
woman
a,
from the U.S., she won the gold medal, and she's there talking to her family. She went right over to her family and talking to the family. Finish line stuff, and sometimes I shoot high. This is the gold medal match. The guy in the U.S. won the gold. The guy who's falling, he won the silver of all things, and the other guy from Jamaica, he won the bronze. And this is these two women from the U.S., Tara Davis and Woodall, and Anna Cockrell. They both won the gold and the bronze. And then Snoop Dogg was there at breakdancing, which is it was such a weird sport. And this girl was like from Australia, and I guess she was not as good as the other girls, and they thought she was I think she's an older teacher or something, but she apologized for her backlash she got from the breakdancing community for her moves and stuff that she did. And then Kara Richardson, U.S., they won the gold in the 4x100 in the rain, and that's her and the teammates celebrating afterwards.
mm, right.
And then, sometimes the athletes, this is like the 10,000 meter final, they just can't make it, and it's amazing when they just, collapse on the track. And then stretchers came out and picked her up.
The thrill of victory and the agony
Yeah,
of
this is like U.S. beating Brazil in the gold medal football match, and then Eiffel Tower with the women's marathon. And then we know who this is, Tom Cruise. They said he was going to descend. All of a sudden, he descends on this wire down to the closing ceremony, and then carries the flag. And then this is the closing ceremony France, and then I'm going to real quickly go to. Using too much time, but this is the opening ceremony up in Cortina for Milan's Olympics this year. And then we went up there with. It took 8 hours to get there from Milan. We had to take a subway, train, bus, and then another shuttle to get up there. And we had no hotel room. We found a hotel room up there to stay for a couple of days, and because we wanted to go there to shoot Lindsey Vonn, so we shot her on her 2 practice rounds, and then we didn't shoot her on the final round, but we had to get back downtown. But we had another photographer, Eric Schlegel, who was up on the mountain, so he got her in action up on the mountain, but he couldn't shoot the very bottom of the hill where there'd be reaction.
Mm.
So I'm going to kind of rip through these. These are the pairs. This is the Japanese team, and they end up winning the gold medal, but not during this part. And they're the first Japanese pair to ever win gold medal in ice skating. And so I was trying to look for reactions and stuff, you know.
And the competition for like the world championships, is it as intense as the Olympics?
You know, I've never covered one of those, but I'm assuming because everybody wants to be their best and have their ranking way up there.
Right. Okay. And how far in advance do you know you're going to the next Olympics?
Maybe a few months beforehand, as long as we
Few
get the
months.
credentials and
Right.
you know when they apply for the credentials and make sure we're getting one. And this is the Japanese woman, and I love her reaction there. This is on the Kiss and Cry stand. So I ended up this Olympics, since it was so spread out, I ended up shooting a lot of more ice skating and short track. This is the Olympics that I've ever shot in my life, because the other, like, I couldn't go to snowboarding; it's too far away, and all these other venues were just too far away. So, and this is the first time I was on the field of play, which is like ice level. Since there was this year, they did it a different way, where you were asking about how do you get to the different positions. This time, you signed up, and then they put your name in this little ping pong ball, and they have a drawing about an hour and a half before the game start, and then you pick if your name gets called, you pick which position you want to shoot from. That's where you shoot from. So you either shot from the field of play, which is on ice level, or you go up above. When you're up above, a lot of times you have a cleaner view with the ice just being a white background. And this is the Ilian Molina. He was like one of the favorite U.S. guys, and that's his famous like backflip that he does in figure skating. And then this is U.S. team. They won the gold for team ice skating. And then this is Judah Leerdam of the Netherlands. She reacted. She won she set a new Olympic record and won the gold medal in the women's 1,000 meter speed skating. So I shot her there. Then she comes around, shoot her again, and then she pulls off. She has this beautiful hair of head, and she does this praying thing. It was just like really incredible. I just love that moment right there.
And at that moment, you're both praying to the same God, right? That
Yes,
she's
I'm
right
praying.
in front of you.
I'm praying. She's right in front of me. I'm in focus. Yeah. And at this game, I'm shooting Canon again. I shot most of the stuff like with a 1-300, 2.8 lens on a R1. I'm a forever Italian team winning a medal in short track. I love this guy's hair. He ended up, I think he was from Kazakhstan. I think he ended up ninth place overall. And I played around with a tilt shift lens. I always try to play around with that. So.
And Paul, do you get any insight into the Russian-Ukraine conflict? I mean, what's the buzz about that?
No, because like the Russian athletes, they compete under I forgot the exact name. It's like
Like an
unaffiliated.
Olympic team, right? Like an
Yeah,
international. Yeah.
yeah. And then I remember there was a big controversy this one because the Ukrainian guy had those stickers on his helmet.
Right, right. And he didn't get was
Right.
that speed skating or that was
Oh no, that was
downhill?
I think it was downhill.
Right, and he never competed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this couple's incredible. This is the French couple who won the gold medal in figure skating. And I really just loved their dance was incredible. I was a little bit higher there, so I could get like a cleaner shot of the ice.
Mm. And now that you've done both as far as ice level and above, what do you prefer?
I mean, when you're at ice level, you could see more faces, when you're higher up, unless they turn. But I mean, sometimes I like the higher up because it's clean with the ice. It just depends on their body language when they're
Mm.
going. I mean, this is like their reaction when they when they did the scores and they won the gold. And again, this is like up above, not ice levels. And I like this. It's a little cleaner. She won 2 gold medals at the games, and he won 2 gold medals too at the game. He's from the Netherlands. I just like his reaction. And then again, our favorite. This is like during the long program, and he was supposed to win, favorite to win the gold, and he did earlier. Remember, I showed you that thing, him doing the backflip, and he was really high up in that short program. Here he fell down. This is when he fell, and then this was his reaction after his performance, and he just didn't have it this year. And then I'm always looking for features, and I couldn't believe what this guy was behind with this Kentucky Fried thing. Again, back to short track, crazy. They're always pushing and shoving each other. This is like the team one where they push and shove. It's like a roller derby in a way. Just kind of ripping through. This is a Germany team during the pairs. This is the U.S. team during the pairs. So if I was up above, I couldn't, like, if I was an ice level, I couldn't get her face like this. So this is the Italian team. And like I said, going back to short track, it's such a crazy fast sport. So you think that they're all going to wipe out, and he pulls free on this crash. And this is Zandra Velzenbouwer of Netherlands. She won like 2 gold medals in short track. She was pretty incredible. And then comes around and her team like greets her. And again, I was talking earlier about the 2 Japanese. This is the first Japanese team to win pairs skating, ice skating. Ruku Murai and Ryuichi Kihara. And this is them reaction. This is at that kiss and cry stand when they were announced that they won. And this is another Japanese, Kuraya Sakamoto. She was like favored to win too, and this is her performing. This is Albert Glenn, and she fell a bunch of times during her performance, and it made her go into 13th place. She's one of the favorites from the U.S. team, and then she reacted, coming off, and then she really just kind of lost it when she's on the kiss and cry stand. And then Steve DeBose of Canada, he celebrates winning a gold medal in speed skating, the short track. And this is our favorite, Elisa Liu of the United States. She was so incredible. She was so, her personality really came out in her skating. It was just like a pleasure to watch her skate. In this is like the long program, but on the short program, I was photographed her whole program. And when I downloaded my card, I just saw the beginning where she came on and maybe bowed or something. And then I saw the very end when she was walking off the ice skating. I'm like, what happened to all my pictures? And I had a malfunction with my camera, so it didn't record any of her skating. So I was really lucky when I did the long program that I was able to have her actually be performing. So I'm just going to rip through a few of these. I just like her personality so much and her energy.
Yeah, everyone did, yeah.
It's just incredible. In the very end, she's there, lipstick on her thing, getting ready. And then this is pretty incredible. So the skater from the U.S., they crash and her skate cuts the Polish photographer or skater's face during this crash. And then was incredible is that the skater's coming off, she's waving to everybody that she's okay, but she had a bad accident. And then at the very end, there's like this gala for the ice skaters, and they do come out and do these really cool performances. I'm going to kind of rip through these. That's the Japanese pairs coming out, and again our United States guy. He's incredible. I think he's going to come back, and the next one he'll win the gold. Again, our favorite girl, Elisa, and then this is the American Amber and her during the thing. I just like their camaraderie, their energy. The men's Canada hockey game, I played around the tilt shift during the game, and then their American goalies saved so many goals during the game, and then the reaction of the Americans winning. That's the gentleman on the far lower right. He's the one who scored the winning goal. And thank you. So this is the closing ceremonies up in Verona. So thank you guys. Sorry it took so long.
No, thank you. Perfect time.
Yeah.
Perfect time.
And Mark and I, yeah, we had a great time working together.
So you guys work together. Oh,
But
now
separately. So sometimes we'll be in different positions, sometimes very close,
Oh, it's
sometimes at
fantastic.
different events. So
yeah, that sort of makes it nice, right? Like you're around friends while you're shooting.
oh, totally. Yeah.
And we would talk out sometimes saying, okay, who's covering this, who's covering that, somebody's got to cover this. Because we were, how many, Paul, all together were we?
I think there was one, two, three, five, six. Well,
Yeah.
Eric was up on the mountain. So Eric Schlegel, he was up in Cortina. So we covered downhill, luge, the
Skeleton and stuff.
skeleton and
And
Yeah,
the
and everyone's
bucket.
working for Zuma?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, our team was Zuma because it really was so far. I mean, I went up as well to the mountains, two separate places, but it was a trek. It was a
Yeah.
trek.
So
And
everything took an hour to get to. Even when in Milan, it took everything was an hour to get to.
Is that right?
You'd walk, take a train, get to the venue, walk again. And the worst one I think was hockey, Mark, because you had to walk after you got out of the train. You had to walk another mile just to get to the venue.
Mhm.
yeah, so it's
A lot of walking and schlepping.
Oh.
yeah.
Paul, I hope you can stick around.
I'm gonna
So,
stick around. I'm gonna
great.
support Mark.
And
And yeah,
you did a nice introduction to Mark, but I'll do a formal one.
yeah,
Mark, Mark's been with us now, I don't know, 3 or 4 times,
yeah.
one great presentation after another. So with that, Mark Edward Harris, show us your work from the Olympics.
Great. Well, thank you for having me back, and obviously thrilled to be teaming up with Paul again, who I did years ago before I even slightly thought about photographing the Olympics. I did a feature for one of the photo magazines because one of the things I do on the side are features with great photographers, and so it's ironic that years later we team up to be working together at the Olympics, and so my uh, starting with the Olympics was not till I was let's see 2021, so I would be 62, which is interesting at a time when maybe a lot of people are retiring or thinking about it. I just was getting started with the Olympics, but it was really because they were in Japan, and for those who know my work, with the way of the Japanese bath and the coverage of the tsunami and other work, that's my favorite place to photograph. So um, when because of COVID and because of the Olympics being in Tokyo, I thought, wow, that's really interesting. So I pitched some stories to Newsweek and they signed off. So my
Mm.
initial time there was that. Now, Frank, you asked about, scouting. I did go to the stadium to photograph this shot. I scouted and I thought, wow, I'd rather shoot with a long opening. Most of the photographers were in what's considered position A, where the signage and everything's played toward the
TV cameras?
prime minister and everybody, in up above in the stands. I mean, in reality, it looks like there's a bunch of people in the stands, but these are just different painted seats. I mean, that's the incredible thing that it's empty pretty much, except for, I mean, you see some people, obviously press, but that's why I call it the miracle games because the world was brought together at a time that the pandemic and in Japan it was only like 22% of the people were vaccinated at that time, and so there was a lot of questions. And I'm going to focus on Italy because I did a presentation for you before about the Olympics, but I did want to sort of set the stage of how I covered later on. And so this was one of the this was a double page of a 6-page feature that I wrote and shot for about athletes that Paralympians that had become handicapped because of acts of violence that were non-war related. And so, her biological parents were married to other people in Vietnam, and they were discovered, and they thought, well, to be together for eternity, we'll just blow ourselves up. And they succeeded for themselves, but not with Haven. She later was adopted, brought to the
Wow.
U.S., and that's her story. And so I'm always looking, for stories, but I'm also just like what Paul said. I mean, so right on, is we're always looking for signage. And I think in particular, Tokyo 2020 Olympics, because of the historic nature of COVID, uh, really wanted to have that. And so I sort of got my angle that I wanted to shoot, and all I had to do is wait for this Australian skateboarder to come in frame. So I didn't move. He just moved through the frame. I guess it's kind of a little bit of a Woody Allen way of shooting, still photography.
Right.
Um,
So do you guys get like instructions? We want more Americans or we want more Europeans, or it's cover the event, of course get the Americans, but get all the athletes?
Definitely. Well, for me, because I was through Zuma, we got some U.S. Credentials. We got some through Finland. We do a lot of work with Finland, and so I had to cover Finnish athletes. Not for the Tokyo Olympics, but for the Olympics since when because I moved over to Zuma at that point. In fact, I met Paul and Scott, our fearless leader, at a weightlifting event in Tokyo, and he goes, "Why don't you do stuff for us?" And so we reconnected when we got back to the States. But I was looking for different angles. Like let's see what the other people are doing, other photographers. Give a sense of place, and also I loved how this gymnast was framed against the background. We don't have to see the top of the rings to understand what it is, and just the key is just get your exposures right. But once again, because it was COVID, I really wanted to show this unique time in history, and so that's where I got shots like this. I love environmental portraits, but also of course the establishing shots of this is now Beijing, for the opening ceremonies. Always trying to shoot that, but once again, here's COVID, so I'm not going to show a bunch of stuff that I shot there of the athletes, but just set the stage. I mean, I love this. Every morning, we have to get our COVID tests, and I didn't know these long Q-tips could go so far up your nose. Just unbelievable, right?
Yeah, we had to do that in
Yeah.
Tokyo too.
Oh,
Remember, every
oh
day.
yeah. Remember, it's like you couldn't believe it. It's like, wow, you should put a little Sharpie, to show how far you went in. You might win a gold for that. But I love this note. And this poor person was sitting out in the freezing cold, for endless days. But she was obviously happy to contribute. And so this is just like what Paul said. We're all looking for, the establishing shots. What separates Paris from any venue, right? And so this,
That
Paul and
does.
I were not alone in this angle. I mean, this was a sought after angle, but of course, it's all about the time of day. You want to be there at the right time, and then the right angle for shooting. And Paul and I both shot Simone. Now, what I did is I gave up shooting at the apparatus that was before that in order to get a prime position because we're all running over from place to place to place, and there's no way in the world to have center spot if you're going to be at the apparatus that was beforehand. And so you have to sort of say, okay, I'm going to roll the dice. Hopefully, nothing too spectacular will happen on the one before. But I just love shots like this, just freezing moments in time, things that your eye can't see, shooting at least 1/2500th of a second. at a 400 2.8, looking for patterns. But so I wanted to just sort of set the stage for my coverage of Milano Cortina, and so trying to go after the same sort of shots. The stadium that they had the uh, the opening ceremonies on was really an ancient stadium. I think they really were trying to say, okay, we're going to try to use as many existing venues
Mm.
as we could, rather than what so often happens, where so much money is spent to buy, to make new venues. They really try to use what was existing. But you can
I
see
mean
the
that
same.
looks like a huge football field, huh? They're soccer fields.
Oh, for sure,
Yeah.
football stadium. And Paul, is it correct that they were planning on demolishing this in the near future or something?
Don't know about that one. I mean, I was
Yeah.
supposed to shoot the opening ceremonies in Milan with you, but then we ended up going to Cortina. So my experience was really different this year.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were done it. And so, but that's really perfect. That shows how
And I had to
shooting.
and I had to sneak into this position to
Yeah.
shoot that picture because I didn't have a credential for the photo position at Cortina. I had one for Milan, so I had to sneak in, and I actually knew the venue manager, so he let me stay there.
Oh,
I
excellent.
snuck in this road with all the people to get to this one spot, and then climbed over a barrier to get into the photo position.
No, you have to do it. I mean, so little of it is actually clicking the photo. It's like, getting into position. But see that, but that shows what we do at an agency. It's like, okay, now we got Paul I think I don't know if Scott wasn't up there. I'm not sure,
Well, he
but
was there too,
And,
but then they couldn't get in, so they ended up shooting from the top of a hotel room or
uh,
something.
oh,
And
I got you.
and you guys are in constant contact each night,
Yes,
going here, you go there, all of that,
we
or
have.
try to be as much as possible.
Yeah, we have a WhatsApp for everybody, so we
The
all see
group.
all the communication. So it's okay, I'm shooting this, and so that's great. So then we have, Cortina, which was major, and so this is just a couple of shots. Now, what I purposely do, and a lot of people don't, is I look for a way either with a very, very, very small tripod because you're only supposed to have monopods, but I want to do a 2 second exposure so I could get the fireworks to really do something, and you can't do that handheld to get that sort of so that's was my approach. So I went to the very, very, very front row and I put the camera down on the cement slab to get that.
Mm.
But just like with Paul, we're looking for signage. How do you separate this from every other places? Remember, it's not just other Olympics. It's the championships and everything else. So signage is great. On the other hand, when you're not shooting from what they call it FOP, field of play, and that does require a different bib. You have to, put in for it. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. Um, the high angle does have its benefits where you can isolate the person, against the white background, which is great. And so is one better than the other? They're just different. Some things like Paul's amazing shot of the backflip. If you shoot it from high up, is nothing. You got to shoot that lower. But just these athletes are so amazing. I mean, just imagine doing this, on on the earth, rather than skating. This dexterity. I mean, it's just insane, and we can never
Interesting.
just forget that. I love the gala because the gala is lit in a much more artistic way, and so that's really fun, even though it doesn't count for a medal. Um, it's really fun, and they have some fun with it. Obviously, uh, it wasn't a real panda, but once again, looking
That's the
for
gold
him,
medal winner. Remember?
and he actually won the gold, which was the irony, right? Not in this outfit, but but you notice how I'm purposely trying to get that signage right here.
Yeah.
And so this is the guy who should have won the gold. In fact, he looked really relaxed coming onto the ice when he did his routine. This is now where he can be relaxed because this is just the gala. But once again, signage and I mean he's a big heartthrob. I think there's two. He is and then Alyssa Liu, is this couple's fantastic. The Japanese couple, just I mean, they're going around so fast, and I mean, just imagine if something goes wrong, how catastrophic it can be. The trust that they have to have, the physicality. It's really impressive. In one sense, when you see something like this, could one say it looks easy? I don't know, but they
They
make it
make it
look
look
easy.
easy.
They make it look easy. Is this easy? Just it's just very impressive. Uh, and so once again, Elisa Liu, I probably will post this shot later because it was a shot of I did of her flipping, and I'm not flipping, but turning, like doing triple axis or whatever. But even though it got an insane amount of likes, a lot of people wrote pretty rough stuff. Not of this shot, but of the other one because faces contort and hips really get thrown out to the side. So they just want to see in this age of, Instagrams and all this sort of stuff. People just want to see pretty pictures of their heroes. They don't want to see the reality of what it
Mhm.
looks like with a centrifugal force. Um, you
And
know,
your deal with Zoomer is you can put anything that's been off embargo onto your Instagram.
oh, 100%.
Yeah.
There's no restrictions. Just like even like, shooting with the Dodgers or anybody else. I mean, you don't want to make somebody look bad, but if somebody falls, they fall. I mean, you're just
Mm.
documenting, what's
What?
happening.
Yeah,
You, you
that's
know.
what.
Yeah. And so this is what Paul was talking about, where he went up, for the practice runs, fortunately, to get Lindsey Vaughn. And so my whole goal of going up was to photograph Lindsey Vaughn. And she never made it down a hill. This is the person who won the gold. And so I only photographed, like 13, 14. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it couldn't have been 13 people because Lindsey Vaughn was 13. I remember being down at the finish line. So we had Eric up on the top. I was down at the finish line. And I remember the announcer saying that obviously Lindsay doesn't have a phobia about 13. And there actually is a word for a person that has a fear of 13. And he was joking about that. And then, ironically enough, when Lindsey Vaughn came down or started to, she was wearing number 13 and never made it down.
Well,
And
yeah.
and
When they do their practice runs, are they in their uniforms?
well, that's a question for Paul.
The same, everything that they're wearing,
Well,
everybody's.
what I'm thinking is that if you cover the practice rounds, you'll get you'll get some of those images that you wouldn't get maybe on race day. But does, like, can you post this as a shot
Yes.
without saying it's a practice run?
No,
No,
you
you
need
can't.
to say it's whatever run it is, the practice
Right.
run, day
Okay.
one, day two, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to be you're very honest with all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
that's the end of, journalism if we start,
Yeah.
varying from that. But this was the woman who won the gold fortuitously, and I don't remember what number she was, but she was earlier on, and then all of a sudden Lindsay didn't come down, and everybody's looking up at the screen to see what happened. And so I did exactly what Paul was saying earlier. You turn around and you look for a crowd reaction. And just my position happened to be where no other photographers were. There were some TV cameras, but right behind me, all of a sudden, there's Snoop Dogg, right behind me. And at first, he has his coat closed, and this guy is just so on top of stuff. He is so aware, and so he just flashes really me. I would say, because there are no other photographers around that could shoot straight on, I should say, and just for a brief moment. But you have everybody looking up at the screen, and then there's Snoop Dogg opening this up, and this photo got picked up a lot.
Yeah.
This is um, one of my best-selling shots. And I'll know more when I see but I know from tear sheets from seeing, it printed all over the world. I haven't gotten my sales report that shows about that. But then also, of course, now I didn't have the best angle of this at all, but when they picked up Lindsey Vaughn, I think Eric was up the hill, so he would have gotten much closer shots. But the helicopter with Lindsay strapped to the outside came around and first landed at a hospital in Cortina, And so I was able to get this shot. And I'm always looking, for senses of place because if it's just a helicopter up in the air, that's what you're seeing, right? No sense of place. But here, up against those amazing
Yeah.
mountains, you have a sense of where uh, you are. Yeah,
For
go
both,
ahead.
yeah, Mark, can you teach that to have the presence of mind to turn, the presence of mind to have mountains behind the helicopter? Is because you're in that moment, that helicopter is gone in 3 seconds. You turn
Yeah.
the other way, you don't see Snoop Dogg. Like all these different things. Is it just something? This is what like it's like just a natural thing to do in that moment because you don't have a lot of time to turn
Oh
to
yeah.
shoot. I mean,
It's so
can you
brief.
teach that, Mark? Or Paul, I mean, can you teach it or is it just something that you got?
I think it's partially instinctual, but it's also learned. I mean, I've been so fortunate to interview, so many amazing photographers. One of them was Alfred Eisenstadt, and if you remember, one of his famous shots was a reaction to a puppet show, and all
Right.
these kids in Paris, are
Yeah.
looking back at that, and I really think that had an impact on me. But I think once you first do it in a situation like this, just like that horrible thing, with the Challenger. I mean, look what the TV cameras, really did. I mean, in other words, no matter how unpleasant it is, that's just what you do.
Right.
It's a
Part
human
of the
element, and
part of the story, right?
it's part of the story, and it's the reality. And so, um, nowadays with people trying to just sort of manipulate stories, it's even more important that we just tell the full story and let people judge based on whatever it is. Now, of course, this is sports, so it's not, the intensity of politics. But now here's something that I like to do a lot is I love to try to line up to shoot to get the faces. And so that is a very conscious thing to do. It is where are they going to turn? So you scout out a little bit. Here, I had to have crampons to hike up, and there's no way around it. You need to have crampons if you want to hike up to a position on a course. Um, and so this was a spot that I thought, okay, I'm going to get some guys, doing a slalom, toward me. And so it was really, kind of
Mm.
fun, to get this type of, shot. Now, because it was snowing, I used 3D focusing because if I didn't have the 3D focusing, the snowflakes would have confused the autofocus, and I easily could have shot out of focus. But 3D people, I should say 3D people, that's a key in order to track somebody coming down. Uh,
But
you know,
but no part of that is luck, Mark. I mean, that's you scouting it and getting it right.
That's true. No, no, it's just like any other profession. And when I teach workshops, I really emphasize that. I said, would you really want even though it's not life and death, would you really want a doctor, who didn't really read the books about what all these instruments mean and how to use them? And so I think you have to have that same amount of seriousness.
Yeah.
The results are not life and death, though, of course, now that I've covered, Ukraine 4 times and was in Iraq and other places, you do have to, that can be a life or death, when somebody says, okay, if this happens, you got to do this, or this, you have to take it seriously. So, um, but yeah, this is actually, if anybody remembers Gina Lola Brigida, this is her, is it, Paul, do you remember? Was this her granddaughter or niece
No,
or
no,
great
I
niece?
didn't. I wasn't out at speech clinic. I only went out there one day.
Oh, okay. So she's either the great niece or great granddaughter, and she won
Wow.
gold,
Wow. That's
which
a
is
fun story.
which is great. Isn't that fun? And so you look for those backstories as well. But and typically you shoot with shallow depth of field. So my go-to lens is a Nikkor Z 400 shot pretty shallow because I don't want that background to distract. Um, with it. And so, same, sort of thing. Some people put a little more focus, which is great. I like, shallow for that. I just find it so interesting, these patterns.
Mm.
Now, I'm not making a political statement. This is just simply to show you how you cover things. It's like all of a sudden there was all this stir commotion up in the crowd. And we're at a hockey game, a women's U.S. hockey game. And so I turn around and I see Rubio and the vice president. Well, that's an important news story, right? That you have them up in the audience. So then I turn around and I start focusing that. And I actually climb to the top of the rafters in my position in order to shoot and document, them. And this is just, very, very short time before, the invasion of Iraq. So obviously they knew what they were going to do. And I doubt they were talking about it, at this moment, but behind closed doors, I'm sure they were talking about it. And so this shows you how you do have to be flexible and look the other direction
Mm.
to see what's going on there. And this is it, the football player, the brother of
Kelsey, yeah.
yeah, exactly. You got it.
I don't
And
know his
so
first name, but yeah.
right, exactly. Um, and just once again the human interest, shots that you're looking for. Um, there were some badly behaved U.S. These guys. I mean, what people the bad words that were being used and all that. But really, most people get along really well. There's great camaraderie. This is another one of those sort of shots. Obviously, supporting Italian team. Supporting Canada. Just the human interest shots. And the people that make the Olympics happen. But of course, once again, you want to get signage too, because if you don't get that signage, it doesn't mean, anything at all. And shooting hockey, I really enjoy shooting from behind the net, and I use this big rubber, silicone thing to keep the reflections off the glass. Uh, and I try to position as, and get part of the net, in play to get these sort of things. But, there'd be a lot of reflection if I didn't have it. And also, it allows me to be slightly off the plexiglass because these guys come slamming into the plexi, and you could easily break your nose if you're right up against it. And it's not like in the NHL where they have holes, where you can put your camera through in some positions. Um, but anyways, it's just variations for what you can get back there. And I would have either the 14 to 24 toward 24 or 24 to 70 wide open. But this just goes to show you how close I am. I mean, this time I pulled a little further back, obviously away from the plexi. But I mean, you're really right in there. And then a friend, saw me on TV and took a
Everyone's got a
screenshot.
TV shot.
You gotta get your
Exactly.
TV shot.
Yeah,
There you
see, I had
go.
to get a TV shot. I couldn't let Paul one up me, but you see that big, you
He
see that big.
edited that in, Paul.
Yeah.
I rushed when I saw that. I said, I gotta grab this shot. Um, but you see that big rubber silicone thing that I have? That allows me
Oh,
to
yeah.
be a little off the plexi and not get any extraneous
Mm,
uh, light in and flares off the plexi. So that's it. And just, a little plug for my,
right.
books and
Books.
my
Yep. Right.
Instagram. I think some of you guys might be following me already, but it's just my full name with photo at the end of it. And then the newest book is that bottom left corner, which is the fourth edition of The Way of the Japanese Bath. So I will
Stop
stop
sharing.
sharing, though I think Jay, you can do that right without me doing that. Is that correct?
He can cut you off. Yeah. So if anyone has any questions, you can put it in the chat room, raise your hand. So when you're shooting these sporting events, do you ever think of like shooting sporting events in general here, like NBA, our hockey, the Super Bowl, things like that, or is the Olympics just something separate?
Um,
Uh, yeah,
well,
go, Paul.
well, I cover the Sacramento Kings for the newspaper now.
Oh,
But
you do? Okay.
before, different newspapers, when I worked in San Jose at the Mercury News, I used to travel with the 49ers and
Right.
cover all the Niners games and did the same, like when I was in Seattle, I covered the Mariners, I covered, all the World Series kind of stuff and or
Right.
whatever playoffs with that or the Seahawks or whatever. So, I
Right.
mean, I do these other things besides the Olympics.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do the Dodgers. I cover the Dodgers a lot. So it does extremely well in Japan
Yeah.
because
Oh,
Zuma doesn't have a big presence so much in the U.S. compared
that
to
is the best thing to
we have
do.
lots of great affiliates, and so in Japan, just tons of stuff. And so I especially cover, and of course my interest in Japan anyway. So I cover, I photographed 2 nights ago. Roki had a really good shot. So if anybody happens to see my Instagram, they could see my shot. I mean, it's like very specific, and that's kind of fun in a way to have specific things to do because it really is tough. Like when we do the Olympics, I'm going to show you this shot. When you do the Olympics and you have to run around to so many venues and all that, but it's great to go to, a Dodger game and say, okay, I really want to focus on Otani and
Right.
Roki Sasaki and Yamamoto. That's pretty good. Then you're illustrating a story, but
Focus. Yeah.
yeah. So here's I don't know if you guys can see that shot
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Perfect.
of
Right there is
Roki.
perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so right there. He's got the biggest kick ever. There was another player years ago who was famous for a super high kick.
Juan Marichal for the
Juan
Giants.
Marichal had a huge when he wasn't busy hitting people,
Johnny
Johnny Roseboro
Roseboro.
on the head, with a bat.
We're dating ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, but you notice he didn't go after Koufax because he knew Koufax would never hit somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Koufax, yeah. Yeah. Number
Ko
27, Juan Marichal.
exactly, and so he threw a pitch very close. He threw the ball back to Koufax very close to his head, and that's why Marshall turned and hit him on the head, which of course that's not right.
No,
Um,
crazy.
it's crazy actually. Yeah, you want to get into a fight, but you don't hit somebody with a bat, and so.
It's surprising it doesn't happen more often with everyone being so wound up these days. But yeah, but
It's really
Castro
true.
wasn't hurt, right? I mean, he
Well,
wasn't hurt badly, was he?
oh no, no, no! He was bloody. No, but look what happened. Did any of you guys who are watching? Did any of you see the fight that broke out in the hockey game between L.A. I'm sorry, New York Fire Department and New York Police?
Yeah, it was that. I just saw that on my feed. Is that recent?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Isn't that unbelievable? They got into a huge fight. I mean, it was amazing.
Everybody. I mean, the whole melee.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really was. And so now we have the World Cup football soccer coming up. I hope to cover that. Paul, are you covering?
I'm hoping to too. I just signed up for some credentials, so we'll
Exactly. And
see
so
what happens.
yeah, we really won't know. Same thing with the Olympics. You don't know 100% until you actually get
Yeah, I'm
the.
hoping to do LA, so I could
Oh,
go
good.
so I could go full circle for my very
Did
Yeah,
did
yeah,
you
yeah.
did you apply for San Francisco as well?
for World Cup. You mean?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, and I meant World Cup, but I mean you applied for San Francisco for World Cup.
yes. I mean, or yeah, for our games here for World
Right,
Cup.
not covered. Yeah, and I did I meant for LA that for World
Yeah,
Cup because that'd be great. So I would love to cover that. Um, but I shoot just like with Paul, we all shoot different things. Just like I did the North Korea stuff or the tsunami in Japan and war in Ukraine, and so that's kind of like more like a newspaper photographer approach, right? Where you have to cover
I cover
whatever,
everything. I
cover
never know what
everything.
I'm covering each day. So
And when I mean, so Mark, like you came into this, covering the Olympics later on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, is the wisdom that you have prior, applicable to covering the Olympics? Like, you normally wouldn't have done this or that without that experience.
100%,
Yeah.
100%, because I really understood going in, especially because of COVID, that I wanted to do a photo essay. I wanted to do a story. And so I really understood very clearly that this is a very unique time.
Mhm.
COVID, the world coming together during a pandemic. Because just remember, we had what was it, 1917 or whatever? Was it 1917? Something like that.
we talking about the
For the
flu.
last, when was it,
Spanish
Paul?
flu.
Were you talking about the flu epidemic way back when or something?
Well, no, right, exactly. Like the influenza was,
Yeah.
um, Pat, you said a number, did you, Pat? You were, what
Spanish
you,
flu.
The Spanish flu.
Yeah,
Spanish flu, right? So in other words,
yes.
but we forget about that. But then when this thing came up, we're looking at those photos, and so in a sense, I'm shooting for that. In other
Yeah.
words, that it will disappear from our minds, but then we have a historical record of it. And so I think Tokyo and Beijing were so unique. So 100% having the wisdom of having knowing how to tell a photo essay made it easy. Where the building blocks, the establishing shots, the detail shots, the environmental portraits. You just apply it. It's a template that you just apply to whatever.
Situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, like some of those shots, you didn't even realize that the stadiums were empty.
Well, and
Right.
that's the amazing thing.
Yeah, I mean, and if you don't make mention of it, then 100 years from now, those shots, yeah, it looks like the stadium is full.
Oh yeah, the Tokyo opening ceremony, the way they purposely painted or put covers on it, I can't remember. Paul, do you remember if was it
They
painted
did,
or
huh?
It was really just eerie and weird for me.
yeah. It
Yeah.
was, but the thing is the way they did it, it didn't look like it was empty. I mean, I do
Right.
They
remember
tried to
going
make it look like it was full of people.
exactly. I mean, just like with baseball, remember how you could buy, blow up
Oh,
dolls
right.
or something?
Well, I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
during
yeah.
the pandemic covering NBA games, they put fake cardboard people in the seats.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I remember
Now we
that.
can't say and Christy Holmes' husband dated one of them, right? That's not allowed to say.
Is that right? No, but that's sort of interesting. Like, because what I did was because with the thinking that we're gonna forget, is I put together an envelope, with the test and the little card you had to, write in that you took Moderna or whatever it was, just as this little time capsule, so that, my grandkids, my great grandchildren will see this. What is this? And they'll have to look at it and say, wow, what's COVID-19? 50, 75 years from now, who's going to remember?
What a great idea. You know what
Just a
might be
little manila envelope,
yeah.
nothing.
You know what might also be interesting is to do a little blurb book
Yeah,
on it.
Mhm.
that's Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, just a little, 25 pager, right? Just all the stuff that, and you could keep it really personal, right? Just like the stuff that you had in your house and your cards and, all that stuff. It's because people will forget. I mean, they just will, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was another one of my photo essays because I couldn't, travel anywhere. I did a photo essay called Naked Hollywood, Hollywood during a pandemic
Right.
when Hollywood was stripped of tourism. I
Mm.
mean,
Right.
tourists. And so that was that
Yeah.
idea, So it's always, one door closes, another
Yeah.
opens.
Stefan Falker did a book called Keep Going New York, and it's exactly what you're talking about, Mark. He just
Wow.
documented New York empty,
Fantastic. Wow.
exactly what you're saying.
Exactly. That's great. And I know Phil Penman did something
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well about that. I mean, you really have to you can't just say I mean, really to survive this long, you always have to think in terms of one door closes, another opens, and just, go through that door. And or if you knock on one door and it doesn't open, go around to the back door and
Right.
maybe that will open. But you simply because because you've been advising photographers for so many, years that there's almost always a workaround.
Right. Create that opportunity.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. That's why whenever a photographer says I got lucky, I never like that because
I
it's
hate that.
luck.
That's why I always use the word fortunate because
Well, okay. Yeah.
we created
The opportunity.
opportunities.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So what's the next events for you guys that you're going to cover, or you're waiting for the call? Right, the
Paul?
NBA. So none of you guys haven't well, you didn't have anyway to show. Did you guys do basketball at all?
I do, but our
Right.
team's not very good.
But good teams come and visit.
Yeah, but there's a staff of four of us, so there's three of us that rotate depending on what your shift is, the shooting game. I just shot the over the weekend. I shot some of the women's NCAA games,
Ah, great.
so I shot like three games. So
Well,
we'll
Yeah,
still
I'm
keep.
heading back to Japan. I just came back from an assignment in Hot Springs, Arkansas, but I'm heading to Japan on April 17th to two workshops and two exhibitions. One actually on the Tokyo Olympics, actually, because and the curator said, I'd like to have this show because, you know, the people that are going to be visiting the exhibitions did not get to go to the, they didn't get to experience the, in person the Olympics. And I said, okay, that's a really interesting idea. And then the other
Really
one,
good idea.
orangutans. Yeah, it's a really smart idea. So
And
this,
when do you leave, Mark?
I leave on April 17th, and so hopefully it's not hopeful that the Dodgers are in town next week. They are in town next week, but hopefully I'll get the green light to. In other words, I put in for the credentials. Whether I get all the games or I just get a couple of games, that's up to the Dodgers. So
Right.
hopefully I'll get that. And I would love to come up to where Paul is because you guys have, and that's an historic thing baseball wise. Up in Sacramento, the A's are playing in a minor league stadium, right?
Yeah, this will be the second year they're playing. Before they, I think the 2 more years here, then they go to Vegas, Las Vegas.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's got to be interesting. Have you photographed any of the
Yeah, so
games there?
I usually shoot the games there too
Yeah,
at the
I would
small
love to do
stadium.
that.
It's
Yeah.
small.
But
Yeah,
that's the fun part, maybe,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
The charm, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
Mm.
so cool. I wonder if anybody has any questions at all
Yeah, any
for.
questions from anyone? Pat, anyone? I don't know if Jason is still there.
Yeah,
Uh, Howard.
yeah. I just want to say, Paul, I love seeing your older images from
Thank you.
LA.
Yeah,
I think growing up, like the
Is
80
there
Olympics were the reason why I started playing ice hockey. But then I think the 84 Summer Games, because it was such a huge deal, I remember that so much as a kid. It's great seeing those images now. Um, But I was curious because you guys said getting into place. I know Bruce Bennett uses his goal buddy thing that he puts in the net. How does that work in the Olympic setting when there's so many photographers there? Is it like he's already there, it's already in there? Can anybody else do that, or
Oh,
is
you're
that
talking
his
about a
realm?
remote camera or something?
In the net, yeah, he's got the one
No,
in
he's like the Getty guy, and that's
the
his thing. I
that's
mean,
his
there's
thing.
cameras up in the ceiling that people mount in different
Right.
spots. You have to be
Yeah.
there. But the way Mark and I work, we're go jumping from venue to venue so quickly. We're not at that one venue where you could mount a camera up there and leave it up there, and
Yeah.
Because I think he just does hockey. I don't.
Well,
Yeah.
and also because if we wouldn't have access either way for that particular shot
yeah,
because I know that shot really well because when I see it, it's
yeah.
like, oh my God, that's amazing, right? He because it's Getty, and there's probably just one small remote back there, and that's it. And so it's a Getty one, and that's just the way it is. They have the deal,
Mhm.
and for good reason. So, but yeah, I mean, I see his shots, and it's like, man, I would love that shot.
Those shots from inside the goal are
Yeah, they're incredible.
I'm sure he gets a lot of like garbage in there, but like when it nails a shot, it's like wow,
Yeah,
they're
but you shoot
Yeah.
for the Olympics. I mean, just like I remember at the long jump in Paris, you're going to throw away 90% of the stuff because you want to engage the 3D focus
right.
at once they start the run. So it's completely locked in by the time they make the jump. And so that first part is going to get tossed. And
Well,
and so
like,
we, you know,
yeah. But even talk about the long jump in Paris, we're not like on the head on, on the field. We're up in the stands a little, and we're blocked a lot, and
yeah.
it's a challenge to get into the position. But you're shooting from the stands to shoot the long jump or
It's
whatever
true,
it
yeah.
is.
I mean, I did apply, and I did get a couple of head-on times a few times,
Yeah,
but normally, yeah, we don't get that. When we're fortunate enough to get it, but then you have to give something else up because you can't get there last minute, and so you got to say, okay, I'm not going to go cover this or this. Howard, is that your shot behind you?
Yeah, that was from No Kings
That's a
this weekend.
fantastic
yeah,
photo. That's
Yeah.
a fantastic
The
photo.
woman, like some of the costumes, I think, in DC were pretty interesting. That's what I really love, is seeing folks do some stuff where it's like the creativity on top of it for me. This is what really like that's way even more than some of the great signs that you see. Is she did this whole crazy outfit with like her
Oh, it's
there and
fantastic.
then the head up top. Yeah.
Oh no, and no, but plus you know you nailed it with a light. You shallowed up the field. You're feeling of the Capitol in the background. Um, that's great. Really good
Thank
stuff.
you.
Yeah.
So in that context with people and the environment, do you guys ever think of shooting like NASCAR or Formula One or just to be like in the pit, right? I would imagine that's where you guys would love to
Well,
be.
I did shoot the Indy 500, and I shot motocross,
Mm,
no GP, Moto GP, both in Indianapolis because I was part of stories on Indianapolis, and that was fantastic. Uh, but you sort of apply the same techniques, just like if you shoot, you can shoot MotoGP super fast shutter speed because it's going to show speed when they do a turn because of their angle of the motorcycle. But
mm,
you can't do that with a car because if you shoot a car with a fast shutter speed, there's no angle that's going to make it look, fast. And so you have to think, well, if I really want to show speed a few times, maybe I'll do some slow pans.
right, right,
But
right.
it's all relative because the slow pan for a car going 200 miles an hour is going to be different than somebody running. So,
Right.
but
Mm,
we're so fortunate these days with digital because you could do one shot and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to slow it down to, whatever, and get it. Where in the old days, when you have people like Neil Leifer, you know,
Shooting film
oh my, shooting film
with
and
chromes.
manual focus, or like Walter Eos, ball
Yeah.
coming towards you, a
I mean,
football.
those are all my first Olympics up to even up to Atlanta's manual focus.
Yeah, you had to do that. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
amazing. I mean, to think about,
aperture and blah blah blah, and
yeah.
yeah,
mm.
What a great story, Paul, you were there on the other side of the track, and then there's
yeah.
uh,
She
our friend
crashes
David
and like,
Burnett.
yeah. I'm like
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
and
guy. He's always goes these positions, gets these wonderful photos.
yeah, he
He's
I spoke
incredible.
to him I spoke to David in Dubai and he was saying, he was stationed in that spot where Mary Decker fell. Like he was just there. You know,
Yes,
Well,
he
he
check-
talked.
purposely does that. He looks at where everybody is, and he's playing with different cameras and things.
yeah, but
Uh,
how does she fall right in front of him? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, this is off the record, because I do know some things. He
You can't
put
tell me he made her fall.
he put a little tripwire out there. Um,
Nah,
it's,
this is recorded. I'm gonna send that to him.
he said it to him. He said, "David, I'm sorry, I had to out you.
There you go.
It was some fishing tackle."
Eh,
No, no, David's amazing. He actually told
Yeah,
me because I did a feature on him for one of the photo magazines,
he's a great guy.
he purposely looks at okay, everybody's there, so I want to try to get something different. So it's a conscious.
Yeah,
It's not once again, it's not luck.
right.
It's he's putting himself to position, and also he's playing sometimes with different cameras and things because he
Yeah.
wants to get a different feel. Uh, so it's instinct, and that gives him that ability to just get
Something different.
those amazing shots. But there's
And
different responsibilities because Paul and I, when we're doing Zuma, if if we're doing something, we have like if I'm covering a Finland game and we have to deliver, I've got to get sort of the classic shots, of going for a goal. And you're rolling the dice because, well, wait a second. Well, do you want to cover the Finnish team coming toward, their opponent's goalie, or do you want to try to get the goalie in action? So you can say, okay, I'm just going to stay planted the whole time because one of the periods,
oh,
the
right, they're
second
coming your
period, they'll
way.
come the opposite direction, which is pretty much what I did, pretty much,
Yeah,
you
that
know.
makes
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
have to have all the medal winners and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we have to have those pictures of those people,
yeah.
medal winners,
Yeah.
everything that's
And
within
that's what that
on the
what app
scene
is
and everything.
for. Yeah, I got a few reminders about that.
You
I
have to
got a
have those
few.
pictures, and
Yeah.
then you could try to do those other things, but you have to have those other medal winners and clean pictures of them and all that stuff.
exact and signage. So
Yeah.
Signage is key, right? Signage is key.
signage is
Well,
key.
just to make it, like you said, as a sense of place. At least we know this period of time. This is what that athlete was at, right?
Exactly, 100%. Or it could be anywhere. It could be anytime. You need to have that.
Yes. Great.
Can I ask a quick question,
Sure.
Please,
Frank? To both of you,
Linda.
equipment and cameras have come a long way. So do you feel the need to always update your equipment? Does it make it easier to shoot the Olympics? Mark, you spoke about 3D tracking. What did you do prior to 3D tracking? And did you get new cameras because that helped you shoot better?
Yeah, I got the Z9 purposely for the Olympics, as I thought, what an opportunity, I have here. And the technology, and it was actually another one of our partners was Zuma, uh, who said, trust the technology, something that I never would have done when I was outside in Beijing shooting skiing, and it was cloudy, bright, cloudy, bright. He said, trusted technology, meaning auto ISO, which I had never done before.
Mm.
And so I set manually my shutter speed and aperture, but I would let the ISO move. And then what I would do is I would use the plus minus exposure
Mhm.
compensation, because when you shoot around snow, you're going to underexpose because, you got to go by 18% gray. And if something's,
Mhm.
bright or darker, you got to go sort of mentally the opposite. And so I did exactly what David said, is I trusted the technology, and he was 100% right. And so I have upgraded along the way. I don't jump at every new thing or whatever at all, but from to go to mirrorless and have these options. Like, I think there's too much stuff. Nikon has 914 pages worth of manual. There's way too much stuff
Do you
on
read
there.
the manuals?
I read cover to cover. I actually printed them out. I
Very
printed them out. I'm sorry to say, but I cost the world a tree because 914 pages, there's too much stuff on there. But I really wanted to know, and actually it was Nick Oud, our friend Nick, I said, Nick, I want to test this camera, before going over. Oh, I think it was for Beijing. Maybe it was a Z9. And so he said, yeah, it was a Z9 for Beijing. And he said, go shoot hummingbirds, because in LA we've got hummingbirds.
Hmm.
And wow, that was so smart. And so I spent an afternoon with hummingbirds, and I could see the 3D tracking, and it was amazing. And it really was great practice. So I got off the plane in Beijing a lot more comfortable, um, with the camera than if I had just not tried that at all. Because you really don't want to be experimenting too much,
Right.
you know.
on a paid shoot. Yeah.
During it.
It's
I'm a
a,
risk
so
taker because
so
I'm a risk taker though because my
there you
company
go.
here is Nikon, but when I go to the Olympics, I shoot Canon.
That's
So
right. Yeah, Paul. Yeah, tell Linda about what
Yeah.
equipment are you bringing with you?
when I went to the Olympics this year, I mean, I usually shoot Canon, but my company gear they give me like Z9s and Nikon gear, so I have to remember to zoom the opposite way.
Mm.
But I pretty much set the cameras up the same. But then, like Mark was saying, trust the technology because like usually the focus I just center everything, but with this other face tracking thing, I could actually frame better with by when I move the camera and not worry. It took a while for me to try to trust that framing, where the thing's not centered. You know what I mean? With the focus and trust the technology to keep you sharp, and it actually really worked. But it was like,
It is amazing these
yeah.
days. We really are in a pretty good place with that. The only danger is you just shoot way too many images. It's scary to think about how many images per day that can be shot,
Plus, we have to edit them all quickly, so you have to try to tag them
Right.
between
Actually, guys,
days.
that leads to my question. With like sports photography, obviously it's very, very fast. For that one image that we see you guys do, how many, like for example, in a session, how many images are in your memory card?
Oh God.
Well, I've got great Delkin Black cards, which I highly recommend. They're very, very dependable. But we're burning through a lot of images. Um, I try to thin things out so I'm not constantly going through more. But as you said, what Paul said, just, you're tagging the ones you think are going to be a good go. I just shoot raw. I get confused with shooting raw and JPEG, which a lot of people do, and some people only shoot JPEGs. Now, one of the advantages is of what Getty people do is a lot of them they have an editor on the other side, and they plug in, they're hot wired, and so they go out, and so they can actually go have dinner after an event.
What a crazy idea, huh?
And we're
Yeah,
spending
we have to
hours. And
we
we're
have to have
spending
pizza in
hours
one hand and a
captioning.
computer in the other, and that's
Yeah.
just the way it is till.
Yeah.
And then we would meet back at the hotel. I mean, we were sometimes up like
Hours.
2, 3 in the morning, and that's just the way. And David Burnett once again actually said, we were having noodles at midnight in Tokyo. He says, "Hey, we can sleep in September," and
That's
such a good line.
But yeah, I guess the lesson learned is you got to embrace the technology, right? I mean, stay true to what you do, but you got to see what's out there, right?
Use the
Exactly.
technology to help you make a better picture.
Yeah, right.
Players
Yeah.
aren't what they used to be.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for doing this. Mark, again, like I say, you're the co-host.
Thank you, Frank.
And Paul, you have a standing invitation, and we want to get
Thank
that
you.
tournament work.
Appreciate it.
When
Appreciate
you're ready, we'll do that.
Thank you.
But I thank you very much, and for everyone that's coming in, and this will be posted probably Monday and Tuesday of next week, depending on how busy Jay is. But thanks to everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you everybody
guys.
who was here. I really appreciate it. Thank
Really
you.
Yeah,
appreciate
and,
it.
and if you you could look through the chat room there for a minute, see some nice comments. And Paul, do you sell prints?
I haven't, but I can sell my
Well,
lips.
you should.
Yeah.
You need a rep, was what you
I
need.
need a rep. Yes.
But yeah, but certainly Mark has his books on his website
Yes.
that if anyone is interested, and you sell prints there as well, huh, Mark?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
sell them on there, but people can always contact me.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll do
So,
some stuff.
And I do have that book on the Japanese interment. That's another conversation we'll have later
right.
on. So.
We'll make that happen.
And that's
So
an
everyone,
important story for sure. That's
yeah.
especially now.
So everyone still has time to see that your fearless leader speak to the nation. So
Yeah, oh, sorry. My microphone, sorry.
yeah, you see the king of shit.
That preempted one of my TV shows today, by the way.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you
Unacceptable.
very, very much for